So, as I always like to do, you heard the story about Spike Lee. Now, I want to kind of pivot and to give you something a little bit more personal. And I'm going to tell you a story in ways in which that black curtain moment happened in my marriage. Marriage, as we all know, it's a definitely a self journey. It's a joint journey. It's a discovery upon yourself, and whereas that you have a chance to grow and reflect. I think I did more growing being married than I did being single, and mainly because you have somebody there the whole time that sees you as a person, and they see your flaws, they see your potential, they see the good and the bad, basically, and those black curtain moments happen to me while being married within these last 15 years. And a story that I'll share with you now is that year one and year two were hard. My experience has been an experience of constant reflection on what I said, how certain things impacted or landed on my wife, and the outcome and how those things happen. I promise you, I think I'm always having black curtain moments in my marriage. And I think us turning into, somebody said, I think you guys would benefit from having a counselor. And I'll tell you, without going into too much detail and putting too much of my private information out there, we were having these debates about boundaries, right? Like, and me not understanding as a man, what type of boundaries do you want me to put in place? And it wasn't until I think a family friend, got caught in the middle of a debate that Lena and I had, and recommended we go to counseling. Another person saw potential in what we have, saw the connection, but they also saw the disconnect, and gave us a counselor. We reached out to the counselor, started having these counseling sessions, and it was a breakthrough. But that black curtain moment was discovering that, we needed to implement a tool in our marriage. We need an unbiased third-party opinion to be able to, talk things out, and that was an unlock. And that was a black curtain moment for me and us in our marriage, is having a counselor to really sit back and talk to. And I know, just being a black man and period, and just having to go through counseling, it was like we don't need to really put our personal business out there with anybody. We don't really need to be talking to nobody. I was not for it, but talking to this counselor, it was a male counselor. I remember going to his office, and he said to me that I had a single man's mindset. And I had to let that sink, because when he said it, I was moving or talking as though, a lot of these things are things that Lena need to fix. She keeps talking about these boundaries. I don't know really what I need to do about that. These are people that was in my life before her. How do I, set up boundaries with people that just know me? And unfortunately, if you want to lean in and be more effective in your house, you have to be more intentional, right? And that means other people outside of your marriage shouldn't have access to you, or shouldn't have the access that she has. She should have that access, whereas that it trumps everybody, and everything else should be on a time and also need basis. But when the counselor told me that I had a single man's mindset, it shifted my understanding and kind of opened me up to start to see how this could very well be a me issue, and not necessarily a her or a her having insecurities type issue. A lot of times I think, if I'm honest, I like to in the past chalk things up to being, she's insecure. She can't be around my female friends, and she don't want to be around this person. It's because she's insecure. And in actuality, what that comes down to is that we ain't had enough reps. We ain't had enough time and I haven't showed her enough that I can be trusted. You know, trust is a build-up factor. Trust is something that you work on. Trust is something that comes over time of repeatedness and a person seeing the way you make decisions. And by Lena not being able to see that I was able to make a clear delineation with my boundary settings with my female friends and also some of my male friends, that I wouldn't know how to make those decisions as a husband, as a father, in our personal. So it put her on edge. It put her on the defense. And this counselor exposed those things to me to be able to see that. But I give you that just as an option to understand and to see that black curtain moments happen to us, whether it's, you know, in the photography space for me or in my marriage, you know, because we still have black curtain moments. Each one is a growth period for us and allow us to push forward. I would also say that the thing that we also too have is that vigilance to be able to stick in it with each other, you know, because you can quickly and easily say, you know what, this person pissed me off. I don't want to have nothing to do with it anymore. You know, I'm standing on mine and I'm moving forward. And that's not really how you grow. You have to really stick in things. That's just like you're not going to just give up on your photography career, right? You're not going to give up on your career that you do. You're not going to give up on your workout regimen. You know, all of it takes work. So marriage, guess what? It takes work and it's going to stretch you beyond your comfort zone. And I think people aren't really ready to hear that or really willing to work on that piece of it because it's another human being, you expect them to have certain things already worked out or things should just be easier. But that's what makes it, that's the challenge, right? Because communication all within itself is a challenge, and we have to learn how to communicate with our loved ones, and we have to learn how to grow and develop and stay vigilant and stay in it and not just give up, and use black curtain moments to really unveil things that we need to change within ourselves. It's opportunity for growth. I guess the big piece that I really want to uncover here is the investment. It's the investment in money, it's the investment in time for learning, and it's the investment that you do for your self-growth, right? So within photography, you know, you're investing in your knowledge. You're constantly learning. You're learning these new genres, right? You're learning these new concepts. You're pushing yourself to move forward. It's an investment that you're taking that time out to really seek out to understand what those things are. This is the delve in part. This is the part that you dive into that black curtain. Once that curtain is open and you've seen that shiny thing, now I have to put in the work for it. And as to the same thing goes for marriage, right? You have to really work. You have to put the time in. You have to put the effort into understanding another person's perspective. You have to take the time out to understand that, you know what, just like me, for example, I was moving like a single man. You know, I had to really figure out, you know, how do I do this as a married man? That was new for me, and I hadn't had any examples, so I had to do the work. I had to figure out, you know, put myself into, talk to other men that were married, talk to counselors, you know, understand what was needed or required of me as a husband, you know, expectation setting. You know, we had to talk about our expectations and be real and talk about what the expectation is, because a lot of times people aren't clear on their expectations. It's like, I didn't know you wanted this of me, you know, and I think clearing that up and putting that out to be discussed is something that's necessary for a couple to do. So I encourage you to really, when you invest your time, to truly dive deep. You know, after that black curtain moment has been revealed to you, whatever it is, whether it, in this case, photography and or marriage, you really dive in. I mean, it's going all in and fucking up. You got to fuck up some shit. I mean, I fucked up things in my marriage. I overassumed. I didn't do things, you know, but I wasn't afraid to at least try. I tried to do the right thing, and I keep learning, and I'm still trying. I'm trying to do the right thing in photography, and I'm still learning. And the pursuit and the push is an ongoing thing. It's a thing that we're gonna do until we're dead and gone. I mean, you're gonna have to put forth the effort. So, to sum all of this up and bring this all home, let's wrap this in a pretty bow. I got lessons from the black curtain moments. Check it out. Stay ready. The next opportunity could be right in front of you. So using your toolbox and also being open and ready for opportunity, just stay ready. The next one, I'm gonna say, lean into discomfort. You know, growth happens while you step into the unknown. When you're doing the work, You know, sometimes you're taking that swim, you're going out there, and it's not until you get to that end or right in the middle when you look back and you see your progress. That's that diving in. That's that work. You got to stay into it and just lean into the discomfort, because that's the growing part. When it's uncomfortable, when it hurts, when it's painful, stay aware, stay alert, keep your eyes open, because that's the part and way we grow in life. And that's the part that you got to enjoy or start to learn how to love, because that's life, is hanging in there in the bad times and sticking with it, you know. This next one is ask questions. You know, a lot of us are so afraid to ask questions, you know, because we care about what people think about us. And we would rather put ourselves in an uncomfortable situation than to ask a simple question. Sounds like a really easy and simple thing. You may say, well, people, why you say ask questions? I know that. But this is just a reminder. Don't be afraid to fuck up. And lastly, you got to believe in yourself before others do. You got to believe in yourself before others do. You got to believe that I'm not going to be good at first, and I need a couple reps to try this, and I got to keep going. So you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself even when you fail, even when you fuck up. You still got to believe that I can get back up and I can do this again. It's believe, 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 because what you can't do is think that things are going to be easy or you're going to be a genius at the first time you try it. Now you kind of get an idea to see and understand what I mean when I say the black curtain moment. The big question that you may be wondering is, how do I know, or how do I prepare myself for this big curtain moment? Or how do I stay ready for this big curtain moment? And I would highly encourage you to go back and watch my episode 2, where I talk about the toolbox, right? And the toolbox is nothing more than a metaphor of life, of putting the things in your case, in your toolbox, so that you're always prepared for any opportunity that comes your way, meaning the black curtain moment. The toolbox is essential in these because these are things for you to build your readiness, you know, that readiness and that openness to be able to move forward. I'm going to tell you one other thing that kind of keeps these opportunities coming your way and how you can get black curtain moments presented to you is networking, right? Unfortunately, you know, you can't sit in the studio as much as we would like to and create art all day. You can't just shoot. You have to be able to be prepared to get out and network. And I don't know that a lot of people really, you hear the term network, you hear people say your network is your net worth, and not a lot of people really know how to kind of go out there and go outside of themselves. Well, take it from me. I am an introvert. It took a lot for me to be able to get to the point where I am, where I know I got to turn this thing on to become social in those environments. And especially when it comes to me promoting my brand or myself or my services to anyone, I have to step outside of myself to become the unintroverted person to be able to, you know, to sell myself, to sell my services. So being able to understand that you have to mentally trick your mind some kind of way just so that you can get out there and show people who you are. Unfortunately, just doing the work and putting your head down and taking the photos is not going to get you ahead in life. It's the people that you present yourself to. Those are the people that's going to show you these black curtain moments, right? Where you will know like, that's something that I want to do. So I encourage you to really get out there, get out of your own way, and try to get out to as many networking functions as possible. There's a lot of photo meetups. There are a lot of, even when you're doing street photography, you know, that's an opportunity for you to get a chance to get to know the people that you're actually, you know, photographing. Ask them questions, ask them about themselves, because at that moment when you are doing a portrait session, it should be more about the person, right? That's your chance to really listen, to really learn, to really add this person to your network, right? Because you never know what opportunities this person may have, or what potential they see in you to offer you any other opportunities. So networking is important. Making sure that you have your toolbox ready is important, and it gets you set up so that you can experience these black curtain moments.